This is the HeyGears G1X, capable of full color 2D printing, 3D texture printing, and even full color 3D printing. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dan, and welcome back to another printer review video. Today I'm joined by the HeyGears G1X desktop full color 3D and UV printer. Yeah. First try. Before using this, my experience with UV printing was severely limited. I've really only ever used the standard resin 3D printers. I previously reviewed the HeyGears Reflex RS Turbo resin 3D printer, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed using that machine. So much so that I actually still use that resin printer consistently to this day for anything that I have to resin print, which means I am extremely excited to see what this bad boy can do. I'm gonna quickly run over the specs for this UV printer. An Epson i3200 printhead powers the G1X, and it uses an 8-channel ink system capable of producing over 10 million colors. It can print on more than 400 different base materials, features automatic calibration, and can print both full color and transparent layers within the same print. But before we get started, I do want to mention safety. Anytime you're going to be handling or dealing with resin, you want to make sure that you're wearing the proper PPE. This includes wearing gloves, a respirator, UV protective glasses because of the UV light if you're in here while it's operating, and making sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Stay safe, boys. Setting up the G1X was actually much easier than I expected. After unboxing it and plugging it in, I ran it through the initial calibration process, which only took a few minutes. You do need to fill the machine with resin, so the resin bottles are squeezed into the ports on the back of the machine. And once it's connected to your computer, the software gives you live feedback while you're filling each reservoir. This really only takes a few minutes, and once all of that is done, you're ready to start printing. And the printing workflow is surprisingly straightforward. After placing your object on the build plate, Blueprint Studio takes a photo of it and measures its height automatically. From there, you simply drag and drop your artwork onto the workspace, scale it, position it, slice the file, and then hit print. Printing on cardstock paper is painless and extremely quick. I printed this Charizard Pokemon that is dimensionally accurate to a real Pokemon card. And I gotta say, this is gonna be pretty problematic. At first glance, this looks like a legitimate Pokemon card. There's no issues with anything at all. You can read all of the text and everything looks amazing. I wanted to test another Pokemon card, so I went ahead and printed Rayquaza as well. And just like Charizard, this looks identical to the real life Pokemon card. It came out absolutely incredible. All of the colors look perfect. There's no bleeding or any issues whatsoever. The text is extremely legible, and you can even see how perfectly it's printed. And it's not just standard ink. The finished sheen on both of them looks incredible. But printing on paper is one thing. I need to add a little bit of thickness. So I printed the exact same Rayquaza Pokemon card on a pretty thick wooden block. Now I did only do one base layer, so the overall finish does have a little bit of a wood grain effect, but overall this thing looks fantastic. I then moved on to printing on these ceramic fridge magnets. Dimensionally, they're perfect for a Pokemon card to be scaled down, and the Machamp came out looking really nice. The colors in it is beautiful, and the text is extremely legible even at this size. And this really only took a few minutes to print. I then scaled the Pokemon cards up and printed this Mewtwo at full size. I kind of just wanted to do it to see how nice this would come out. And as you can see, it looks pretty nice compared to the original. And at this size and thickness, it's pretty sweet. But I was printing way too many Pokemon cards and decided to print the famous artwork American Gothic on this block of wood. This also has that wood grain effect, but I really like the way it came out. The Mona Lisa also came out looking fantastic. I basically just ended up throwing so many different prints just to see what it could do. Moving on from all of that, I then decided to print on coasters. My first print on these coasters was the planet Jupiter, and this came out looking amazing. It just looks absolutely incredible. I then printed Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, and the quality looks absolutely insane. You can even see the individual brush strokes. And of course, I had to print my Doomicorn suit, and this just looks awesome. Everything about it looks perfect, and I'm very happy with this. And I gotta say, all of the coasters just look pretty amazing, so I can't wait to start using them. The coasters themselves only took about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm blown away by the quality of them. All of the 2D printing came out great, and printing on different materials at different heights was really cool to see. And with the 2D printing exceeding my expectations, I then had to move on to the 3D texture printing, which basically had the same exact setup as the 2D printing. The difference is that Blueprint Studio generates a relief map, allowing different parts of the image to print at varying heights, adding real depth and texture. For my first 3D texture test, I decided to print an eyeball because I thought it would be unsettling, and it is. I printed this at around 2 millimeters thick, and the amount of detail was incredible. You can clearly see the veins, subtle color transitions, the reflection in the eye, and the smooth curvature created by the relief. This thing is really awesome. I printed a beautiful high-resolution picture of the Earth at about 1.5 millimeters tall. It adds a surprising amount of depth and gives the Earth a much more realistic looking appearance. I also printed HAL 9000, which turned out fantastic. And even though it's an extremely simple design, the raised texture gives it a certain look that's not possible with a flat print. Next up was Tony Stark's arc reactor, and I gotta say, it came out looking really nice. The reflection in it as well as the raised surfaces look really cool. I then used a square magnet to print a Minecraft block. This might not seem like much, but Minecraft textures are basically just small squares with 90-degree angles. But the texture printing makes this stand out really nice. The lighter colors and greens are printed at a much higher level, so it just gives it a bit more dimension to stand out. You can see that the edges are slightly curved, but this was an awesome test to see what it would do. Across all of these prints, I didn't run into a single issue. All of them came out looking extremely sharp, the colors stayed vibrant, and it was really cool to see how well this would perform. The G1X actually has an optional open frame build plate that can be installed to dramatically increase the build plate size. So naturally, I had to test it. Swapping over to the larger bed only took a few minutes. After another quick calibration, it was ready to print. The first test was the largest Back to the Future movie poster I could fit. This only took about 20 minutes. Keep in mind, this is still a prototype unit, so the production models will be much faster. The results for this poster are phenomenal. The text is extremely readable, there's no bleeding between any colors, and this looks like an actual poster that you could buy. But I don't think I'm ever gonna buy a poster again when I can just print them myself. Moving on, the next print was this Daft Punk poster that I found. I did print this a little bit smaller than the Back to the Future poster because I realized this will fit inside a standard picture frame. Everything is extremely nice and legible, and I'm very impressed with this. All of the colors are extremely bold, and there's no issues at all. And finally, I printed a classic Doom poster. I actually made a mistake during setup and didn't secure the front edge well enough, so it did lift slightly during the print. Surprisingly, it barely affected the final result. Other than the small crease in the corner, the final result looks really nice. I really love the way this came out. The G1X can print very small details, so the only problem I can really see running into is the fact that you need to make sure your photo is a high enough resolution whenever you print at this size. And lastly, full color 3D printing. I haven't actually tested the full color out yet because I have mainly been focused on the UV and 3D texture printing. This machine prints in full color, layer by layer, with water soluble supports. So once the 3D printing is done, you can take the part and then dissolve the supports away and have your finished product. You can also 3D print with transparent material at the same time. This is going to be an absolute game changer because this really hasn't been accessible to a desktop 3D printer. I haven't done anything similar to this, so I'm extremely excited to see how well it works and what results I can get. So I'm going to be doing an entire breakdown of the 3D printing aspect on another video. I do want to thank HeyGears for sending me out the G1X and letting me test it. It has been absolutely phenomenal to work with. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. All of the links will be in the description below. Make sure you stick around for the next video to see the 3D printing, and I'll see you in the next one.